So we'll go ahead and get started. So foods that give you energy. Let's see if it works for us here. Where's my little guy? Hang on, bear with me. Sorry, guys. Oh, I guess I had some more technical things on that first page that I didn't know I did. It screamed in some things there, so sorry. So the biggest question is this you? You know, are you tired and worn out? Having muscle fatigue, brain fog, and I know a lot of patients and that, you know, undergoing treatment, the answer to those things can be yes for a multitude of different reasons. But even people, you know, even our loved ones or different things that haven't undergone treatment or preparing for it, different things, you know, we can be tired and worn out for so many different reasons. So is it possible that we can give our body a tune-up? And, you know, imagine if you could also, if we think about outside of cancer diagnosis, you know, and different things, is there ways that we can prevent diabetes, heart disease, Parkinson's disease, even dementia, and even imagine if you could heal or, you know, kind of help reverse chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. So all of those things come back to mitochondria. And so this is a big way of basically saying that we have these tiny little factories that turn food and oxygen into energy. So the things that we consume, the things that we breathe, there's these little factories in every little cell called mitochondria that are giving our body energy. So of course, there's going to be a lot more of these tiny factories in our muscles, our heart, our brain. You know, this is a lot of where our metabolism is happening. And when not working properly, you suffer all the symptoms of low energy. So, you know, it's important to note that some cars require premium fuel or certain kinds of fuel, and the fuel for your car is gasoline, and the fuel for your body, this is a very technical term, is called ATP, okay? But to get ATP, it requires the food and a lot of different processes that are happening in our body. And so, and essentially what ATP is it's the combustion of food and oxygen. So I know these are big technical things, but I'm just trying to give you some background as to why this is so important. So injuries to the mitochondria, including infections, maybe different allergens that we come in contact with, and that could be environmental allergens, or it could also be food allergens, stress, eating poorly, and chemotherapy can all damage our mitochondria. Okay, so injuries to the mitochondria are what we're trying to heal that mitochondria. So like I said, what damages mitochondria? Infections, toxins, so allergens and stress, and then also lifestyle habits, smoking, and then you know, other lifestyle habits, alcohol, different things like that, that's stressful to the body. And then environmental exposures, even excess sun exposure, you know, a lot of other environmental things that we come in contact with, you know, or even cancer causers too, are all damaging to the mitochondria. And then also empty calories, you know, we're talking about sugar, flour, and processed foods. So when food is burned or metabolized with oxygen in the mitochondria, waste is produced to form free radicals that create a chain reaction of rusting or oxidation in the body, okay? Unless we have enough antioxidants, there's a term that we're always talking about, antioxidants found in food, in our diet, or we make enough in our body, we can't protect ourselves from the damage to our mitochondria. So this is why I'm trying to tell you about this, is that we can talk about antioxidants and why we need them or why we need more of them, but this is why we're talking about this. So, so we're all familiar with, you know, with rust on our car, the brown color that appears on an apple when open or exposed to the air, where our own tissues can essentially be, quote, rusting as well. But we have a built-in anti-rusting system, okay, in our bodies, and that's reduction and oxidation, or some people might heard of the redox system. So again, I'm not trying to tell you all of these things to be big words and different things, but we want to minimize those free radicals or those stressful situations on the body the best we can. And the more we make of those free radicals or add those stressful things, the less energy that we have. Okay. So the next slide is probably going to be like, Jasmyn, we're signing you off from future presentations. Forget to
Never.
I'm going to show you again what processes are happening in the body. And this is very, this goes back to when I was in college and we had to learn all of these processes and different things. So essentially, these are the amazing things that are naturally happening in your body. So just to kind of go over the cell, the antioxidants work by giving up. So when we ingest in antioxidants or we have them made in our body, they work up by giving one electron to neutralize the free radical or the bad part. And then by definition, they become a free radical. And it just is kind of like a hot potato game until they neutralize and they become the mother of all antioxidants called glutathione. And there's even been really cool research out recently about glutathione and COVID and how a lot of bodies aren't having enough of this glutathione, and it comes back to food. Food is medicine. And if there's ever a time we need to take this seriously, not only for good energy, but also for immune systems and different things. And so essentially that glutathione can be recycled and restored. Some of the most powerful antioxidants are not in vitamins and minerals and supplements. There is not the magic, thing that we can take, but it's essentially food. So enough of that. So this is what everyone wants. They want the magic pill. If we could find that to give us energy, a lot of patients always come to me asking like, what supplement can I take to give me more energy? And it automatically sometimes goes to B vitamins or different things. And there are supplements that are appropriate at different times and for different reasons. And I'll even go through a few, but I always encourage, as patients of CTCA, you guys definitely have some amazing resources, not only from your dietitians, but then also from your naturopathic physicians that can be very beneficial depending on what degree and what part of treatment that you're in, which I think is important to always reference. It's important to reach out to them because depending on what different stage is going to be important to what type of supplements are going to be important for you. But ultimately, this is your magic pill, food. Appropriate nutrition, appropriate things that we can consume in. And I love this visual to help us just realize that it's a multitude of things. It is not just one thing, unfortunately. It is not just kale or, different things that are all green. All of those things are important. But the magic pill is food is medicine. So now what? What can we do? So it's important I always kind of come back to making sure that we're listening to our bodies. And it's important for our bodies to kind of do a natural form of detox. And by detox, I do not mean fasting for days. I don't mean getting a special drink that gets all toxins out of our bodies and does different things. There can be different processes out there, but even natural ways of everyday detoxing, quote, is to include making sure that you're hydrating well. This is probably one of the top 5 things, if not the top thing, that people are missing on a daily basis is appropriate hydration. So I always encourage, water, decaffeinated teas are going to be the best options as ways to hydrate people. Sometimes people add fresh fruits to their water, whatever it might mean, but everybody's hydration needs are different. It is not, unfortunately, the standard 64 ounces a day, because 64 ounces might be a little more than what some people need, and it might only be half of what other people need. So it just kind of depends on what you're doing. There are some things out there that sometimes say half of your body weight in hydrating fluids a day. But that isn't always appropriate for people that have kidney disease or have different other things going on. So I don't want to say that blanketly as being something that's appropriate, but good hydration is very, very important. Detoxifying also includes appropriate rest. Our body needs this in order to have appropriate energy, really. So really making sure that if there's something impacting you that is not allowing for good rest, that your clinicians and people need to know about that, because your body cannot turn over, regenerate, rejuvenate, and that mitochondria, those things, those different processes happening in your body can't work well if we're not resting. Sweating, I know that seems gross, might be stinky, different things like that, but sweating is very important, and we'll get to that in another slide. But movement of some kind to help naturally detox is important. Sometimes people will even, and again, caution with this, but sometimes people will even do the sauna, or you hear people talking about how beneficial that is. And this is just a form of detox. But this might not be appropriate for everyone because of issues with blood pressure, whatever might be. So again, making sure that you're using caution with that. And the last one is eliminate. So I hope I don't embarrass anyone. And this is not my goal, but I am a clinician first and foremost. So I was listening to a great doctor that I think I've quoted before, Dr. Mark Hyman. He's a functional medicine doctor. So I was listening to him just a little bit. And he said, I always tell my patients that they need to do the 3 P's, and that is pee, poop, and perspirate. Okay. So it is very important that we are eliminating well. Constipation is a thing that shouldn't be normal. There are a lot of reasons that can cause that. And also diarrhea isn't necessarily normal. So we need to go back to the gut and kind of find out what's happening and why that's happening. So, I have a lot of patients that will come in and say, this has been my normal for years. Well, just because that's your normal doesn't mean it's necessarily right. So we need to make sure, but it is important that we're getting rid of, our way of getting rid of toxins is through perspiration. Going to the restroom is very important. So it's an important thing. And when I was even listening to different ways that they check for toxins in the body, it is always typically, whether it's urine or obviously blood and different things. Urine is a great way to assess those things. So again, it's our body's way of eliminating those toxins. So all of these things, we want to definitely get back to this. I feel like I've unfortunately mentioned this on every presentation, but it is still the case. So when our body is having to process all things that we can't pronounce, again, these are just more free radicals that are getting in our bodies, and there is the opposite of antioxidants going in. So the more we can stay away from these things, and again, this isn't a perfect world. There are situations that we need convenient items, and I'm a realist in that as well. I can tell you probably 2 or 3 things from every picture. Okay, more than that probably that I might have just had on our last vacation. So it's something that but the more we can focus on when we can control it, eliminating these things or making our own, you can see all of these things here are basically convenience items. So, you have potatoes. Well, we can chop up potatoes and roast them, the whole thing versus the processed tater tots. Same thing with waffles. You could make a good waffle mix with, your own flours, different, sometimes people add little spices to them. I got a little mini waffle maker that I absolutely love and my kids have loved, that I have made so many things in that mini waffle maker that they have just adored and enjoyed, both sweet and salty. But I've even made with egg and banana and like some oats and some almond flour and made like a waffle mix. So it's a different version. Yes, it tastes a little different, but you can stay with these things and get back to basics of what you enjoy. Lunchables, kids, grandkids, making your own version of Lunchables. I promise you, they're going to be tastier. So it's getting back to those sorts of things that we can make and eliminate these processed and partially hydrogenated oils. And again, different ingredients that we really can't pronounce. Okay, addressing inflammation. So this was a really cool thing. And this has, I would say, over the past 25 years, become a very, very hot topic in relation to inflammation in the body. I was even listening yesterday to one of my favorite surgeons out of Washington State, I believe, but he would always talk at the big nutrition conventions that I used to go to. And his name is Dr. Martindale. And he was speaking as to different issues that are happening in for hospitalizations, organ failure, different things along those lines. Does that come back to inflammation? And inflammation is what, if we're so inflamed, our bodies just don't know how to work right. Again, fatigue, brain fog, muscle soreness, different things like that. So it's important to pay attention to your body. And again, I've already kind of mentioned this, but pay attention to your GI. What's kind of going on there? Bloating, gas, discomfort, all of these things that maybe we've just said it's normal for me after every meal. It shouldn't be. You know, our body should not have all of those symptoms all the time. We need to readdress the GI tract. Skin issues. This is also very interesting. There can be a lot of skin side effects of chemotherapy. So I won't always kind of say directly undergoing chemotherapy that that's the fact there. But a lot of people have issues with eczema, psoriasis, different things like this. And honestly, more and more research is coming out to say that it's all rooted in the GI tract. Not all of it. It could be exposure to other toxins potentially or what it might be, but it's our body's inability to kind of break these things down. And so it's showing up in skin issues. And oftentimes you go to the doctor and the first thing they're just going to give you is some hydrocortisone cream and or another heavily medicated version to help treat it. And we're not really going to address nutrition, unfortunately. Sinus problems. A lot of people, you know, there's a lot of literature out to dairy and sinus issues. That's just one example. But, you know, I always kind of encourage, I had a physician that actually used to work at cancer treatment centers, and she was a dietitian as well. So I always loved picking her brain. She said anytime she would eat yogurt for 5 days straight, which I know yogurt is good, but for her body, it didn't work good. She would end up with a sinus infection. And so it was always, dairy was just not a right food for her. And it doesn't mean that's the case for every person. I want to reinforce that. But again, having chronic sinus infections is not normal. So, and then neurological issues. This could be a lot of things, you know, that kind of go back to that. But and we can dig into that a little bit deeper. But paying attention to those things. Sometimes people just have a little bit of a tremor or have something that they just kind of gotten used to, and it can come back potentially to food. Or deficiencies of different vitamins or what it might be. So one of the biggest toolkit boxes when I speak to patients that are kind of fatigued and losing energy, or maybe issues with fibromyalgia or whatnot, we always kind of start with these top 5 foods. And this is one of the biggest toolkits without having to do a bunch of testing and different things. But the top trigger foods are the highly intolerant foods. This isn't an allergy. So if you went to the doctor, they might say, well, you're not allergic. I tested you for it. No, I'm not going to break out in hives, or my throat's not going to close up if I consume these foods. But if I consume them often, every day for weeks, I'm going to have terrible bloating, gas, maybe constipation, maybe diarrhea. Maybe I start getting some eczema on my skin. You know, it just kind of depends. So the top trigger foods are going to be gluten, dairy, peanuts, soy, and corn. Some people even take that a step further and they consider nightshades, which is going to be like your tomatoes, bell peppers, different things like that of the nightshade family of fruits and vegetables. And these are just kind of the ones. So when we consider the elimination diet, or things to kind of eliminate to then hopefully provide more energy, we consider eliminating these particular foods for potentially 2 to 4 weeks. And so I would say that gluten and dairy are the top 2. So if this seems very overwhelming to you and different things, which it can be, I have no doubt in that. Even as a dietitian, I struggled to attempt this at different times. So, but I have found some really even interesting personal things on my own. But gluten and dairy are the top ones. And then, you know, like I said, the peanuts, soy, and corn. So you consider eliminating them for 2 to 4 weeks. 4 weeks is going to be where you're really going to hopefully get them out of your system. And then you start adding them back one at a time, and you see how your body reacts. And I would encourage, if you're doing this, making sure that, you know, we're not undergoing some really stressful treatment at this particular time. We don't want anybody getting malnourished trying these things, anything along those lines. And any of your dietitians or team members would be happy to consider this if it's appropriate, or give you some more in-depth direction. But this is just kind of something to kind of go through as far as that goes. So addressing the inflammation in your body is extremely important. This is when it comes to like rheumatoid arthritis, which is an inflammatory process, a lot of autoimmune diseases, different things like that, that are all causing people to not move less, do different things. This is kind of a easy starting place without, like I said, having to do a lot of testing. And fortunately, what's really cool about these elimination things is there's so many more products out now. There's so many more things that you can find that actually taste good. You know, I would say even 15 years ago, everything that was gluten-free was gross. And, you know, or you had to make your own. And there are so many products out, and even just standard grocery stores. I live in a very small town, and it's not very small, but we have this one little grocery store, and I'm even impressed of the what they have as far as standard gluten-free products, because I definitely do this for my family, and even dairy-free options. So it's pretty neat. Exercise, and I want to be where this girl is, just staring at that mountain, if we could say that right now. Anyway, exercise. I care so much about you guys getting this in, but I don't care what kind it is. You know, everyone has their preference of what exercise is, but building lean body mass is, and also getting up and moving. Sometimes we think we're so tired, so therefore we don't want to move, and we feel like it's going to exhaust us more. But actually having that strength, getting good oxygen in our body, all of these different things, and it is extremely beneficial. So whether you like to dance, you like to, you know, go for walks, you like to do some yoga, Pilates, there are so many, and I would say even more amazing now since COVID has hit, how many apps and different avenues of getting forms of exercise in and doing it without even having to leave your home, and for free for that matter. There are so many options out there. I have found, you know, to love certain apps, and I'd be happy to, you know, share some with you. But there's some really great options. But again, this is that sweat, this is that detox, and you don't have to sweat every time to get the benefits of exercise. I will say, you know, even just doing the stretching and keeping your body strong is important, and it's important for everybody. I will say even patients, you know, we always talk about bone health, like with breast cancer patients and different things. So it always comes back to this weight bearing activity. So finding what you like, finding a space that you enjoy doing it in, making an environment that's conducive to doing it, that's convenient and easy for you, is also very important. And I say with exercise, I always encourage patients to start small. Like, I'm not here to say that you need 150 minutes a week out of the gate. 10 minutes a day is a great starting point. Or if that's too much, 3 times a week, whatever that looks like, then you kind of start finding, oh my gosh, I feel better. I'm moving better. I feel stronger. I have, you know, I can get to the mailbox. Now I want to go further, you know, whatever that looks like for you. Building that in. Sometimes it's helpful for some people too to maybe have a buddy, and the buddy doesn't have to be present in your house. It could be that you just communicate different ways to, you know, kind of motivate and challenge each other. Some people don't do well in a buddy system. I kind of am not great always in a buddy system when it comes to exercise, because some days maybe you have motivation to double up and you want to do more and different things. But I think that hopefully everyone has somebody that they can kind of enjoy doing different things with. And you might even find that someone else might introduce a new form of activity that you'll be so surprised that you really enjoy. So making it something that you enjoy doing is very important. And if everybody had this back place to look at, I think we would all be exercising more. Okay. All right. So eat whole colorful plant foods. And, you know, you'll see this beautiful picture of the rainbow. We need these foods every single day. It used to be good old 5 to 9 servings a day. Okay. But I would challenge people to even note 8 to 12 servings of these plant foods a day. And so, but note, a serving is a half a cup cooked or 1 cup raw. Okay, that is a serving of a fruit or vegetable. So that really isn't, you know, I know that's easy for me to say. a whole lot, but sometimes, you know, by the time you have a fruit salad or you're making a salad on your plate, you might have 2 to 5 servings by the time you're done. So really, really trying to make sure that we're pushing these as much as possible. Do pay attention to your GI tract. Sometimes people can't tolerate these sorts of that much volume or how it's prepared. But I always encourage raw, roasted, or steamed being the top, you know, options to get your vegetables in. Cook in a variety of ways. And then, you know, oftentimes what might not be in season, you also want to consider frozen options. Canned options are better. They're getting better where the ingredients, if you could just find corn and water as the ingredients, if you have to do canned, I don't want to knock those either. So there are a lot of various options out there. I know we've talked about this before, the clean 15 and the dirty dozen, always referring back to that. One thing that when I was listening to Dr. Mark Hyman, he kind of noted, you know, if we can do more organic on the dirty ones, that's always going to be better, because if we think about when pesticides are put on fruits and vegetables and different things, they don't have to work very hard to stay alive and to stay strong, okay, because the pesticides are doing that. But the harder they have to work to fight off all of these different things, they're just making more and more and more of these antioxidants and these amazing things that our bodies need. So it's important to consider that, which I was like, that's pretty, I appreciate it being explained to me in that way. I will say that there is a particular family. There's a couple families of fruits and vegetables that I would really try to kick it up a notch on in regards to detoxifying. So again, getting rid of toxins in our body. And this is the number one is going to be the cruciferous family. And this is the ones that unfortunately make your house stink sometimes when you cook them. And so this is going to be your broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, arugula, you know, so I would encourage or challenge you to consider at least one serving of cruciferous vegetables a day. And I will say, my husband gets real mad at me when it comes to cruciferous vegetables if I cook them in my house. He is not a fan, and he's coming around. One thing that we have found is cooking some of these in the air fryer. I don't know if anybody has an air fryer, but Brussels sprouts in the air fryer or broccoli or different things along those lines, there is not as much of a aroma. So something to consider, but just throwing that out there is a little helpful tip if anyone else gets upset about the scent. And then another family that's really good is the alum rich foods. This is your onion, garlic, leeks. These sorts of things are also very good in detoxifying, and they also add awesome flavor. But again, everyone's GI tract isn't cut out for garlic sometimes in certain forms. You know, I don't want to cause a lot of extra belching or anything like that. That's not comfortable for anyone. So if we can just control that, and maybe there's some other alternatives that you can play with. But these plant foods are so important to give us energy, and I would really encourage pushing that if you can safely, and notice how you feel, because you're going to have, again, more of those antioxidants going through, getting rid of those free radicals that are in our bodies, and again, then therefore giving you more energy. Omega-3s, here we are again. This is, I always like to call omega-3s the things that put out fires in our body, and the fires are inflammation. So one of the top things that people, you know, skin issues, different things that are happening, we always go back to how much omega-3s are they getting in. And omega-3s are an essential fatty acid. So when I say essential, it means we can't produce it in our body. So it has to come from food or a supplement of some kind. So if we think about food sources, you're also going to get other nutrients with it versus just the supplement. People are always asking, can I just take the pill? Just give me the pill. I don't want to eat, you know, XYZ to get the omegas. So, but if we can find some different ones that you might like, that's always good. And this is going to be your Chia Seeds. I've been really liking hemp seeds right now. I add them to my yogurt, and I think they're awesome. So those could be good. Chia seeds, I think I already said that. Ground flax seeds, avocados, olive oils, walnuts. One thing that I've been doing recently with walnuts, and I know this kind of goes a smidge against what I'm saying here, but I have made my own, kind of dusted some walnuts with egg whites and a little bit of sugar and more cinnamon, and roasted them in the oven. And my kids are popping those like candy. And I can put them on my salads. I can do all the things. I know the raw form, I can do the raw form, but if I can get some other omegas in, that's always good. So cinnamon is a really great way to kind of add a form that they actually taste sweeter without having to do so much sugar. And then these are some mitochondria protective and energy boosting nutrients. So I really want to note here, I don't want everybody going out and buying all of these supplements, okay? But I just want you to know that there's a lot of these out here that are available that speaking with your naturopaths at your locations, they might find for you to help. So a lot of these go back to that really crazy slide that I showed you with all those different processes, the Krebs cycle and the TCA cycle and all the different things that are happening. And these are kind of found in there. So Acetol Carnitine is one alpha lipoic acid, coenzyme Q10. This has been very beneficial for the heart, especially. And so can be some things. Honestly, there's some different medicines out there for the heart that can actually deplete our bodies of CoQ10. So you'll see a lot of people during treatment to support the heart. The naturopath might suggest CoQ10 for you. So that's really beneficial. N-acetylcysteine, magnesium, NADH, and again, this is all big words here, not trying to complicate, but it is made from niacin, the NADHs, and I found this one to be pretty neat. A lot of supplements are coming out with adding these different things to products. I have an immune one that has the NADH in it, so I think that's kind of cool. D-ribose is a natural occurring sugar and essential for energy production. So again, very important. And then of course, we've all heard of resveratrol, probably the active component in wine or grapes and different things being having some benefit. It doesn't mean more wine, the better. let me bring that back for the resveratrol part. I've had people try to tell me that, that I'm like, I wish that, a person that it would be, but it's not. Okay, so everybody kind of got those. All right, so I really just kind of, I know that kind of buzzed through this a little bit, but the energy of the mind is the essence of life. So, also a big part of this is making sure that our mental health is very important to help keep our bodies strong and give our body energy when we have so much stress and undergoing. And I know a lot of what you guys are undergoing with treatment or have undergone. There is a significant amount of stress that goes along with that. But then even on a personal note, there's stressors. So the more we can also, that's again, kind of going back to forms, I always like to say, if I can kind of kill two birds with one stone. So sometimes appropriate exercise can help with that mental health, which reduces that stress. So thinking about these different things, I know, and I've already seen her on here today, she brought up some really great options about meditation. One time, and I apologize when I'll see all the names pop back up, I'll remember who told me. But that can be another really great thing. So focusing on reducing that stress is going to be very helpful and aid in reducing those issues of fatigue as well. So just kind of pointing on that. So that is all I've got for today, and I'm more excited to get to speak to you. But I do want to say that I made this thing because I was challenged to be festive because Addie made this great. So I whipped out my child's thing here, and it used to light up, but it doesn't anymore because they left it on, which is not surprising. So don't forget, I'm going to put this downstairs so that my kids can read it too. Food is medicine.